welcome to Audente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have, continuing on with SCP-Cember, SCP-3396, otherwise known as the Empyrean Parasite. So, SCP-3396 is the entry that kicks off the Apotheosis canon. Again, sorry, gamer, for tossing you into media res last episode.
Fine. If it happens enough, I'll just get acclimatized to it.
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
So you'll just get like Stockholm syndromed.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. SCP-3396 is by the lovely CadaverCommander. Yeah, honestly, like one of my favorite SCP authors. Is it like round table like agreement? Like he's one of our favorites.
He puts headers on all of them. Of course.
Of course. Also, without him, we wouldn't have Joey Fucknuts, and like that's the world I don't want to live in. But yeah, so you can check out SCP-3396 on, of course, on scp-wiki.wiki.com.
Love that URL.
It's just fun to do at this point. It's a bit at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, or the official SCP Foundation website. And before we dive into the rundown, let's give our initial recommendations. I recommend it wholeheartedly.
I partially recommend it.
Okay.
I partially recommend it.
Wow. Man, I'm like, am I the only one who's like, just like, yeah!
Hey, man. Considering
You're a rock star.
my recommendation. Yeah. Considering my recommendation last week, though, you should be happy that it's at a partial.
That's true, yeah. Actually, here's a question. Like, for initial recommendation stuff, now that you've read this entry, would you also would you change your recommendation for the shape of a gun?
Oh, we're doing an in hindsight situation?
Yeah, like, well, because you said that last episode. Like
right.
it might change your opinion of the story based on.
It does not.
Okay,
it's fine.
All right, fair enough.
I still think it's a tad ridiculous.
Well, fuck you.
That's fine.
I say that I don't actually mean that. Just FYI.
Of course. To me, I still think it's really weird that I'm not super into the SCP that can just make guns out of everything. Because usually, like when we're playing tabletop games and shit, I'm like, yeah,
you are the gun nut.
Like, mod the shit out of the guns. Yeah,
you're the gun fondler.
Vehicles with guns. Yeah,
yeah. So like, I don't understand. But all right,
it's I don't need to explain.
Yeah,
we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah,
actually, we will eventually because
it's probably
going to in this probably. But either way, we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah, it's probably going to come up anyway. All right, so yeah, that's our initial recommendations. Let's dive into the rundown and our actual thoughts and grammar acquisition if we have them, and see why we gave those initial recommendations. So kicking off with the rundown. I will not be doing a Christopher Walken voice because
you could say it's time for the rundown as Christopher Walken and then just do the rest as your normal voice.
It's time for the rundown.
We'll try that on for size.
Yeah, we'll see how I edit this episode. So SCP-3396 is a massive extra-dimensional construct roughly 75 kilometers southeast of Death Valley in the Mojave Desert. The construct appears to be a massive tree with insectile traits as well, and it also secretes a blue-green fluid that, when exposed to biological life forms, mutates them with extra-dimensional organs and growths that cannot be removed conventionally, and also gives various supernatural abilities and traits as well. Multiple international occult organizations, not just the SCP, are currently working to keep this virulent anomaly contained. with 6% of the global population already exposed and possessing strange abilities and mutations as a result. Given the infection rates of the mutations among the global population as a result of the fluid, the SCP Foundation is preparing for the worst, a situation where they can't fully contain and keep out of the public eye, and may very well be witnessing the end of a normal human world. Finn. That's basically about it. It's a giant magic space tree or like space-time tree that gives off like its sap or fluids mutate people with like superpowers of like an SCP variety. So and unfortunately, because they weren't fast enough to catch the people that had dug it up, those people got out into population centers and the mutations seem to spread. So yeah, it's starting to spread around the world's like population.
That's actually one thing. I don't know if you have a note on this. If anyone has a note on this, I sure don't. That's why I'm chiming in. Do they mention how it spreads from person to person?
That's
I don't remember seeing anything about that.
It just seems to be like contagious. Like somehow the people that are mutated and are in population centers just seem to be able to like rub it off on other people. But yeah, you're right. I don't think they ever actually specifically mention like how these people are just like doing that. I do have a little bit of it in like my notes for like game fodder wise stuff. Because there's actually I don't know if I wrote down, but like there's actually a Wild Talents campaign setting that is similar to this, not exactly, but basically like it's called Progenitor, and it's basically a the baseline like pitch for it is in the history of the setting, all superpowers originated from one source, which was this basically housewife in like Missouri or in like the Midwest got superpowers from a space rock and basically became Dr. Manhattan. And so she went out to fight in the Vietnam War to help the troops and stuff like that because she's a good old American. And what she didn't realize was her superpowers are contagious. So every time she used superpowers, anyone who survived contact with her superpowers got superpowers at a slightly lesser degree than hers. Like she had she was basically a god. And then every time she used her superpowers to defeat people, if they didn't die, they got superpowers on a slightly slightly smaller tier than she was. And then whenever they'd use their superpowers on somebody, and like somebody in proximity or like exposed to that like ability, they would also get superpowers on a slightly tier, and they would just keep going. So by like the 80s or even the 90s, there were people with like tier like almost like not mundane but like extraordinary tier superpowers.
Yeah, and like you could summon maybe like the size of a Bic lighter fire on the end of your finger, but that's about it. Like eventually it dilutes way down. Yeah.
And it would just depend on like what generation of superpower you were. It's kind of like I guess Vampire the Masquerade, where like the like pure blood vampires, like there's like a whole like hierarchy of like how strong your vampire blood is. To like the latest generation is like basically like mud blood, like mixed blood or mud blood. Like there's like you're barely a vampire.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something like that kind of thing. It's like that's how they explained it for like it was basically like a radiation or exposure to the powers just gave you powers. But in this, we don't really like the fluid is what mutates people when they come into physical contact with it, and not just people, also animals, like any kind of living biology.
Like we have what are they called? Addendums with different subjects, but all of them are mutated through the slime itself, not through contact with another infected person. So even if one of those was transferred through another person, then I'd be down for it.
Yeah, like I could see if like maybe like it is like contact, like physical contact with an affected mutant person. Like again, if somebody's being intimate with somebody and suddenly they get powers, kind of thing like that. Like maybe that's how it's spreading. Like,
Yeah.
but there's no evidence in the SCP entries. Surprisingly, this is one piece of detail that should have been put in to give us a reason why, like 6% of the human population of the global population is exposed, is mutated when the group of people that were like digging up the site left and went to the population centers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did they bring bags of the fluid with them and just like, is it like a drug that's being passed out into like, is it like that would actually be cool too. Like, there's like just this underground drug ring of superpower drugs, just like super drugs.
Mhm.
Yeah, the whole infection thing could just be like if they shake someone's hand, like,
Yeah.
because how often do you really do that,
Well, that and like people do have like oils and like stuff on their skin. So like, who's to say like because like they have the mutation, the organs in their body aren't like producing something in their sweat now or in their oils and stuff.
Yeah.
So
But,
like that's how it moves.
That's why it's only like, yeah, there is some exposure in the major population areas, but it's not massive because like if you're in New York and you were a being that can give superpowers to other people just by proximity and you're walking down the street,
Yeah.
everyone you pass would be getting superpowers.
Yeah. Whereas like, I mean, if you bump into somebody, well, like it has to get through clothes, so like that's not going to happen. But like,
Yeah.
if you're like at a meeting and like, it's like, hey, it's like I was like, good to meet you, and you like handshake, and then suddenly like, bam, you're infected.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I get.
Mhm.
Oh God, like I hate the last 3 years of our lives.
Yeah, unfortunately
like,
topical.
Yeah, unfortunately topical is my high school ska band. Unfortunately topical is actually a really good like band name, I think.
Yeah.
um but yeah, it's like that's like that kind of I can understand. And then like the SCP Foundation like is able to like grab those guys and bring them into quarantine before things get too out of hand and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it doesn't say specifically like it's physical contact with the mutants. It's just as soon as they entered like the areas, now we have 6% of the global population is now exposed to this. So
yeah, long story short, if there's just one of the addendums that was transferred that way through a handshake or something, then cool.
Yeah,
but
for
we
sure.
stop beating that dead horse.
I suppose. Well, that seems like a good segue out of rundown.
Oh yeah.
And let's just bypass Grammar Inquisition unless people have one.
How dare you, sir?
I certainly did not expect the Grammar Inquisition today, so or tolerate it.
Yeah.
But actually, yeah, Mikey, do you have any Grammar Inquisition?
I have an it sentence.
Okay. And now an it sentence with Mikey. The E stands for evil. Take it away.
It manifests visually as a massive, tentatively biological structure with both arboreal and insectile characteristics, 27 meters tall and 23 meters wide between the ends of its large fist branches. Fin.
It's a bit of a run on there.
Yeah. But I mean, at least to be fair, we know what the it is.
Yeah, the context is given in that sentence.
In that sentence, yeah.
But that's not why Mikey does these by
I know
sentences in a story that start with its answer butts because there was better words. It's not because of lack of context. It's because they start with it.
Yes. Although because of SCP entries, I always tend to give those a pass with the it stories because like how else are you going to describe like that? Like what the SCP entity is blah blah blah. Like that's how you're gonna do it. Like you might as well just use it.
Yeah, because it's not like formal.
Yeah, like it's not.
Sorry, it is extremely formal.
Yeah,
right?
It's a different. Yeah, like I feel like this format actually lends itself for its stories or for the it at the front of a sentence. At least in the context of like where this it is placed in the entry.
Where it is placed.
Yes. But again, it's still fun to poke at it because it is something that needs to be dealt with otherwise, right? So
yes.
All right, Gamer, do you have any Grammar Inquisition?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Even when I give you sass about it, you assumed I had none.
Nope. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Well, I just assumed like the sass is just your like your go-to to like to bully me.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, well, let's move on to actual thoughts. What's funny is like that story is probably going to come up again when I read it for one of my actual thoughts. But before we start, I would like to apologize to Mikey in advance, so I don't have to keep saying sorry, Mikey. Mikey, I'm sorry. I'm going to be talking about Shadowrun throughout most of my actual thoughts.
Most of them.
There was a lot. I was getting like major Shadowrun vibes reading this entry.
I guess that's fair, yeah.
But yeah, so let's just dive into this. Exclusion Zone 3396, where SCP-3396's central nexus is located, is currently contested by multiple organizations, including the Global Occult Coalition, the Serpent's Hand, and the United States Unusual Incidents Unit. And as such, has been declared a neutral demilitarized zone by mutual agreement to prevent global warfare and a lifted veil scenario. Dang. So like some kind of secret war situation happening here, like or like secret Cold War kind of scenario happening here between all of the global like organizations that are in the know of like the supernatural bullshit of the SCP. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to just like use all of this story, specifically this part, for game fodder. Maybe in my Grumblehammer universe setting, or even the Rexurge setting, over on One Less Die, our sister podcast. Maybe even use it as part of a campaign when I get the Secret World tabletop RPG sometime next year. I could even see this being done in Shadowrun. Like you be like this is some kind of incursion from the deep metaplanes, or even like the horrors beyond the metaplanes that are trying to like leak into our reality. And like there's various organizations in the Shadowrun universe that are trying to keep this under wraps because they don't want to spark more panic than there already is on like these kind of things. Like they don't want to after what happened to Chicago in the Shadowrun universe, where they dropped a magical nuke on Chicago to stop a bug spirit invasion. They don't want to spark another like panic in the population that like, oh no, there's going to be another bug city happening. So and let's just move on to the next thing here I have. Each specimen captured must be contained in a Class 4 hazardous bioform containment cell, reinforced with an Atlas pattern anti-thaumaturgic runic array. Oh yeah, very Shadowrun. Like
a little technobabble if you don't understand most of it, though.
Yeah, true. Although, like, yeah, basically, like, anti-thaumaturgic runic array. Basically, it's like a magical barriers that have been erected up over a like containment cell, or like a containment unit of some kind. Not unlike a certain campaign scenario we ran in the GTS campaign on One Less Die, gamer, where you guys were in like a facility that was studying bug spirits.
Yeah,
and there were like high level like magical wards over like basically like test tubes, like giant like containment test tubes. So yeah, again, was getting serious Shadowrun vibes, and it just keeps going with the next thing. Actually, this one's not so much Shadowrun, just like something about like the last story that we did. SCP-3396 is a Category 4 extra-dimensional entity which exists as a gestalt of physically and metaphysically mutagenic symbiotes that currently inhabit and affect approximately 6% of the global population. So I guess this explains some things that happened in the Shape of a Gun story, like where the mutants all came from. Like Mikey said last week when we did that episode.
Yeah.
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 And to point out, this says that 6% of the world's population is infected, which is roughly 470 million people.
Yeah. That's a lot of people. That is a lot of fucking people. Yeah. Although I don't know, like, so you were saying like, oh, I wonder if like the guy who like the head of the army of the SCP Foundation from last from Shape of a Gun, was also a mutant. It's like I don't know if that's necessarily true because I don't know if the SCP Foundation would be using him like
Well,
out in the open willy nilly like that.
but he might, if he's not, he might become a mutant because of exposure.
That's true. Yeah, we don't know, and we do not know the vector rate of the second hand vector for contamination because like we know what the primary vector is, which is the ooze, the secret of the ooze, SCP-3396.
Oh god.
Yeah, and I mean he's the only one not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So
he's asking for it.
One of the guys
he's already infected.
One of the guys next to him is like, "Sir, do you think you should be wearing a mask right now, sir?" It's like, "No, I wear no mask." Oh, okay. Oh god, no mask. No mask. Sorry, I couldn't resist to throw that out there again.
Fair.
But yeah. So yeah, okay. So it looks like we know where all the mutants were coming from. Was it like actually I believe last session we were like Gamer, didn't you say it's not like it's saying like one source did all this? Like,
yeah, I probably said that, yeah.
And then we're like, well, no, yeah, one source did all this. Because like we both speculated, like, well, maybe it was like from like various other SCPs.
Because they're all different mutations, I assume that they were all from different SCPs. But no,
it's actually much like the Rec Surge event that from my campaign, One Less Die. There was a like source catalyst event that gave everybody a vast variety of powers. Again, not saying that like I didn't even like this is the first time I'm reading this stuff, so like it's a happy coincidence that I came up with a premise similar to this for a superhero horror setting. So maybe it's why I like it so much. I think maybe that's why I'm so like gung ho for this, is that like it just really speaks to me on multiple levels.
And I get that.
Yeah. I thought there was gonna be a little bit more. It's like, I get that. You're wrong, but I get that. But I'll move on to the next thing here. Oh yeah, this one's gonna be very Shadowrun. So, description. It manifests visually as a massive, tentatively biological structure with both arboreal and insectile characteristics. 27 meters tall and 23 meters wide between the ends of its largest branches. Colorations of this primary metaform is typically iridescent blue-green, though this has been shown to change, to the point of displaying different color patterns to different observers simultaneously. This central nexus releases a luminous blue-green fluid from an array of vents in its primary trunk and branches, which pools into a shallow reservoir at SCP-3396's base. SCP-3396, in its entirety, is selectively tangible and fails to interact normally with physical objects or electromagnetic radiation. This has made conventional non-thaumaturgic testing and examination impossible. Oh my god, this is... So at this point, my notes were just like, this is Shadowrun. This is so Shadowrun. Oh my god, this is so Shadowrun. Like at first, I was getting vibes of the big magic tree from that lame ass Shadowrun 360 game. Like that giant tree that just like the giant magic tree that just appears like on the mountain, like
it's
below
a magic spell you can you can use in that game too, which summons a magic tree. But there also was a giant one, yes.
Yeah, there was also a giant one. And even that, like that, the premise of that like situation is in like the books of Shadowrun, especially like the 4th edition stuff, which is what we're familiar with. Like crossing that with like, so like, yeah, like the big magic tree from the Shadowrun 360 game crossed with something out of the Hive metaplane involving bug spirits, since it's like arboreal and insectile. So it's like almost like a Zerg tree. Kind of gives off like that's the description I was kind of, that's kind of like the look I was getting, was like this weird like chitness or chitinous tree, like with like insect like carapace and such. But then as the description kept going on how it interacts with our reality, I realized it was essentially describing an Alkera. So in Shadowrun 4th editions, there are these like bleed-ins from other reality, like from the metaplanes, the supernatural realms that like kind of coalesce around beyond our own like physical reality in the astral space. And they often manifest corporeally and incorporeally out in our reality as like new like dramatic landforms or like landmarks. And most of the time when they manifest, they just appear as these like ghostly, untouchable new landmarks, right? But there are like kind of tiers to it. So like I think like a tier 3 Alkera manifests as a physical and metaphysical object in our current reality, where somebody can actually go up to it and like touch it, and in some cases they can even like travel to the metaplane it's linked to through it. So making it very dangerous, but also like super weird and like fantastical. And yeah, this tree just screams like an Alkera from Shadowrun.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's just like,
It's
bam, this is very Shadowrun. And again, I don't hate it. I love it. I absolutely cannot get enough of it. That's my thing on the description of the tree, of the magic space tree. That gives people superpowers. Let's dive into those superpowers and some of that with the addendums for 339601. So these are like these are the various like test subjects that they did on. So starting with 1 Pagona barbata, commonly a bearded dragon, specimen male. Method of exposure: 1 drop of SCP-3396 fluid administered to top of head. And the results were, within 3 hours, subject has increased dramatically in size and mass to a length of 25 meters at an approximate weight of 5,000 kilograms. Specimen. What?
He's a big boy now.
Yeah, he's a very big boy. Specimen displays significant structural alterations, including widened limbs, a mottled and porous surface texture, and a multitude of large dorsal vents, which continually release a mixture of spores and various toxic gases. Specimen becomes docile to the point of lethargy and does not react to physical examination. Skin samples yield genetic results extremely similar, but not identical, to a wide variety of fungal species, notably including Amanita bisporigera, destroying angel, Amanita phalloides, or death cap, and
I'm gonna need you to say these right.
What?
I'm making a joke.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you said it's like Amanita something.
Amanita. Yeah. Aha! Fuck you.
Good.
Claviceps purpurea, or ergot. So those are so that's the results. So basically it's a giant big boy with giant fungal spore launchers out of its back. Do you want Pokemon? Because this is how you get Pokemon. Also similar, like the same thing with the dog. Like when they tested on a dog, like yeah, I was not happy with the dog thing, because it was like, especially like in the results, vivisection reveals like vivisection. So they autopsied the dog after after its mutations. Reveals the presence of SCP-3396 organs and tissue throughout subject's body. Vivisection fails to terminate the subject. Oh God! As any damage incurred by the procedure is rapidly regenerated. Subject's behavior is unaltered. Okay. So
vivisection isn't necessarily like post-mortem, because I didn't 100% know exactly what that was, and it says that practice of performing operations on live animals for the purpose of experimentation or scientific research.
Oh, okay.
So they just opened him up.
Gotcha.
Just to check what's inside of him. And then they closed him back up, and he's still a happy little boy.
Yeah. Which apparently they didn't need to even like stitch him back up, because apparently it regenerated.
Yes.
So yeah, at first I was like, I heard Vivisection. Oh man, poor pupper. Wait, he's still alive? Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at least he doesn't seem to mind.
No, he's fine.
Yeah,
he's still
he's a good armored boy.
Yes.
Armored pupper. Because yeah, his mutations were like armored like carapace, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Or like
basically
all his
turned him into a crew bro from Warframe.
Yeah, all his fur fell off, and he got like metal, or like not metal. He got like horned like protrusions all over his body. So it's like an Arcanine mixed with a Sandslash.
Yeah. Honestly, out of all these mutations, I wouldn't. That'd be fine.
Yeah,
I'd take that. My hair's already fallen out as it is.
So the next thing here we have is the next experimentee. Regarding the results of human female 28, who age 28, or should I say, Monica Pinkston. So this is the test results. When struck by a smooth criminal,
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Sorry. When struck by return fire from responding Foundation security forces, subject's body fragmented, producing violent explosions which inflict no damage upon the subject, but cause significant destruction to test installation and facilitated subjects' escape. Specimen's body continued to fragment, explode, and regenerate upon receiving damage. The pieces levitated near the specimen's central body and transmuting into further instances of high-power projectile weaponry. 37 casualties reported. Subsequent test chambers reinforced. Wait. Hang on. Why wasn't this description used of her body fragmenting from hits and bits of it even forming guns, not in the story the shape of a gun?
It was?
Was
but
it?
It was done in such a flowery way that I didn't realize.
Okay.
Because what it says in that is, because I have that here.
Yeah.
But, and they tried to, this is what it said in the shape of a gun. And they had tried to stop her, but every impact of their bullets upon her skin was just a hammer driving down on the blasting cap of her soul. Her rage detonated against their need to keep her still.
Oh, I thought that was metaphorical.
Me too, because why wouldn't it be, right?
Well, yeah, and like here's my counter to like also is like maybe the reason it wasn't said was because it was from her point of view, and maybe she wasn't noticing the explode like how her body was like reacting, because like you can't like if you're like in like that kind of heat of a moment, you may not be able to see like things on your body happening, like when you're getting exploded and stuff like that, right?
It wasn't a first person story, it was told third person.
No, but it was told from her point of view. So I was just like throwing that out there. It's like also like yeah, so like okay, so the fragments apparently form the body, so we now have the catalyst material for how her weapons manifest as well. Is like the parts of her form the guns.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like it said there, like
the subject's body fragmented, producing violent explosions which inflicted no damage on the suspect.
Yeah, no, but the pieces levitating near the specimen, or the specimen's central body the pieces that may not even necessarily be her parts. It might be like like pieces of like
random shit around her. And
okay, so you were actually right on that, like that she's like transmuting local like stuff into her guns.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I took that as like
I would have been more okay with her.
Yeah, I see. I was thinking more of like it was like when her body's like fragmenting, the pieces that are like levitating or like the pieces that haven't been like fully exploded or destroyed are like levitating around her and even transmute into her guns and stuff like that. But no, it's she is able to transmute like local material into her guns.
I suppose it doesn't directly say that, but through
assumptions
that we love to make.
Yeah. So like the bottom line here, I still love that story. You cannot take that away from me. But this is definitely a case in favor of what you and Mikey were saying last week on that story, where like it should have been better described how her guns work and like maybe not go so flowery with like, because again, like we both thought it was metaphorical back there. It's like, oh, like the every hit was hammering on her soul. It's like, no, it's literally hammering her and exploding off.
Yeah, because it's basically like a reactive. There's a type of armor on tanks, I believe. It's reactive armor. When it gets hit by something, the armor itself detonates against the blast of the incoming projectile, so it like cancels it out.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of what she is, just repeatedly.
Yeah. Is that what depleted uranium like armor is all about, or is that something different?
Depleted uranium is just a material that they use for bullets.
But they also use it for tank armor.
Do they?
Yeah. For I think the Abrams, uses depleted uranium armor.
Maybe. The only thing I've heard of depleted uranium is for bullets.
Yeah, military uses include armor plating and armor piercing projectiles. Most depleted uranium arises as a byproduct. So it goes on. But yeah, it's apparently used on the Abrams tanks for like as armor.
But it's talking about depleted uranium rounds, as
no
in
armor as well. Like yes, it does. It is used for armor piercing rounds, but it's also used as tank armor.
Oh yeah, improved armor consisting of depleted uranium and other classified materials. Okay, yeah.
I wonder if there's a. I know it's depleted uranium, but I wonder if there's like a high cancer rate on people on Abrams tank teams.
I would hope not.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're just gonna slap some depleted radioactive material into your armor.
They probably have like shielding inside, even if it is hazardous.
Hopefully,
I would hope so.
Yes, but yeah, so yeah, that was the thing. Like, we get a little bit more. We get the Foundation's point of view of like her escape, but also get more information about how she. You know what this is? This is the difference, like between a story that is more like it is subjective from her point of view in the story, versus an objective view of the incident that happened at the facility, where we get more analytical details because of it's a structured like bureaucratic entry.
Yeah, it's just facts.
Yeah,
it's not her calling them Nazis.
Exactly. Although they kind of are, but
how dare.
Yeah. Next thing here, this is the last test subject. Human male, age 42. So the test results are no immediately apparent effects for approximately 3 hours. Four exact copies of subject appeared within testing chamber. All 5 then stated simultaneously, "Only fools like you would see the blessing of magic as a curse." The 5 entities joined hands, then corporally fused into one massive non-human organism with 10 arms of varying sizes, a central mass of undifferentiated flesh, and dozens of levitating structures resembling disembodied hands, each with an eye fixed within the palm. A large volume of water manifested within the chamber and swirled energetically, obscuring the bioform from view. The fluid then fell to the chamber floor, subsequently determined to be non-anomalous seawater after examination. The whereabouts of this specimen are currently unknown. there's a little bit to unpack here. First off, I guess now we know how Norm transformed into the biblically accurate Norman.
Yep.
Secondly, still think I'm on Team Old Vegas / Team Mutant.
Let's be real. You were never not going to be on.
No, yeah. Especially after the statement about seeing the blessing of magic as a curse, like to the Foundation. I think a certain Captain Solanum is going to be with me on that situation as well. If like this stuff gives you magical powers, hell yeah, I'm gonna be on that team.
Yeah.
That said, the way Norm teleports out and the description of his form does also remind me of the mother entity and its like servitors, which I think is suggested to also be isn't the mother entity also the flesh form behemoth, formerly known as Guam? So, but then again, this also has like kind of the inklings of the Admiral with the seawater. Like the seawater wasn't just the mother's like MO. The Admiral also used seawater for like some of his abilities and powers and stuff. So either way, I'm still slightly conflicted. No, I'm still on Team Mutant. Like, yeah, I don't care if it's the mother. I'm still on Team Mutant. But moving on to the next thing here. While physical examination of SCP-3396 has proven impossible, thaumic scanning has yielded a single tangible result. Rather than providing their standard conceptual energy and thaumic potential readings, Foundation prototypic thaumic scanners, thaumic is the word of the day.
Really is.
Thaumic scanners invariably alter their method of data return to provide the word, in all caps, thrive, in a random language upon each scan. The significance of this is unknown. I hate to keep saying it, but this is very similar, like in terms of some of the ideas, to what I wanted and to what I had in mind for my Rexurge game setting. Over on One Less Die. Like going back to this, like for this, it's hard to tell if this thing is malicious in its intent, or if it's simply an organism moving into a new environment and spreading its influence over the current bioforms of that environment. So like it's like unintentionally an invasive species, or if it's like maliciously like intending to like move in and push in.
Yeah.
Because like in nature that happens all the time.
It's not actively doing anything.
Yeah, and like it's sort of like it's like message that like it's sending out when they try doing tests and stuff is thrive. So like it's sending that out to its influence bioforms. So like to me this kind of feels like sort of like cosmic horror with a superpower touch. And it certainly makes me wonder or even question what we've read currently with the CadaverCommander works so far, like all of his entries that he's posted up there, the stories that we've read, if the ones that connect the Apotheosis canon and such, like it even makes me wonder, is the mother actually evil, or is it just this organism that's just trying to thrive? Like, is it actually, and from a cosmic horror point of view, that is also just as scary because it's not even doing it. It's an entity that is doing this non-maliciously, but it's dramatically altering and ruining the new environment that it's pushing itself into. Like it's an invasive species. That's pushing out the old species, or it's altering the old species that are in that environment.
Yeah.
To fit its own ends. And like that might not be malicious, and that's the point of cosmic horror, is that it's not meaning to do these bad things for the current we're basically like we're the ants being pushed in by like termites or by like a larger entity by a human a human a good example here would be like we're the ants in a massive ant hill that are getting flooded with molten metal by humans who want to make a mold of our amazing anthill like tunnel works.
Yeah.
Like we're dead. We're getting like destroyed or preserved by the molten metal, like otherwise like killed and stuff like that. But the humans aren't meaning to do this maliciously. They're doing it because they want to understand our amazing like architectural work. So it's like that's the cosmic horror angle here, I think, for me, that I keep getting a vibe of, is that the mother may not be doing this intentionally. She's just an organism pushing her way into our reality.
Yeah.
And spreading her influence the way her nature does. So it certainly makes me like think more on like the horror of all the stuff that CadaverCommander's been like putting out for the last like couple of years. But I digress. I'll move on to my next thing. I got a lot to say on this one, guys. I'm sorry.
No reason to apologize here.
Well, I'm Canadian. It's expected.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So the next thing here, SCP-3396 was located by chance during an archaeological dig. Each member of the research group present became an SCP-3396-01 instance, and each worked to completely uncover SCP-3396 in a matter of days. Legitimately, when I read this, sounds like Delta Green's like a Delta Green scenario, right, waiting to happen. Like, because it even says like right after, like the SCP or the SCP Foundation was too late to arrive on the scene to stop it.
Yeah,
like I could see this being a Delta Green scenario where like your agents sent out to an archaeological dig out in the desert, trying to stop these researchers from uncovering Cthulhu. Actually, I think there was even a game that Ross Payton from Roleplay Public Radio did that was kind of similar, where like there was an archaeological dig that was digging up a spawn of Cthulhu out in the Midwest, like a desert somewhere in the Southwest. So, and it didn't go very well. It also went about the same way as this one did, because the creature ended up waking up out of the desert and walking to the coastline.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it was a bad time. It was a fun recording though. I cannot remember what the scenario is called. Future Me, added now. Boop. Delta Green, Cultural Resource Management on RPPR. Boop. Thank you.
Nailed it.
Yes. But yeah, next thing here, SCP-3396-01 instances not under containment have utilized their newfound anomalous abilities for a variety of purposes thus far, including murder, non-violent crimes, mass eradication of certain diseases, and public welfare initiatives. So
we're just kind of slid in there.
There's some bad, but also there's some outweighing good that is coming from this. Again, I know the Foundation is attempting to maintain a status quo and keep normality in our reality. But like, if they can't stop it anyway, maybe they just shouldn't try. Maybe they should just let the world change. It might change for the better. Hashtag Team Mutants. Like, yeah, and honestly, like something that they bring up earlier in the entry, is that like it seems like the powers and like the abilities that are given don't change the personality or consciousness of the person. So like they stay the same person they were before they got the powers. They just have powers now. So it's just when you give a human being something that gives them an edge in life, like so, and
become an asshole. Though.
Yeah, well, sometimes. Well, it doesn't help that they're testing on D-class that don't escape. But then, like, the people that aren't D-class aren't already like start off as criminals or bad people may not go right for like assholeless moves. Like, again, we see like right there, like one of these mutants cured a disease. Like completely eradicated disease, and some of them are even using them for like various welfare projects. Like, that's not terrible. Like I'm sorry, that's still for me. That's in favor of Team Mutant rather than Team Foundation.
If one person cures a disease and 3,000 people all kill people. That doesn't make up for it, you know?
I mean,
Or
that's
like,
be,
you know, for example, take over an entire freaking city and like bring it to ruins.
I mean, who's to say that? Hang on, yeah, maybe who's to say that that wasn't like that might have been one mutant that went in there, but then the other ones went in to stop that, and then just unfortunately the collateral of having these powers. So I see what you're saying, but at the same time, like I'm still Team Mutant. I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just,
I know, yeah.
No.
You're still Team Foundation.
Towns are going barren and shit like that, you know, like
towns are not going barren. They just, again, there was a disaster, and like the mutants are trying to make
showing up.
Yeah, but I mean that's going to happen when like there's a dynamic change in like the normal in the structure of normality. Like that happens that happens in our own world. Like without superpowers, like stuff like that happens. Like, and we have to like deal with it. Like if I'm just saying, like if the Foundation isn't able to stop or contain this Empyrean parasite anyway, then maybe we should just let the world change for the better. or like it might not even be for the better. It might just honestly remain the same like level of like good and evil. It's just now people have superpowers.
You are so optimistic about this.
I am.
I
think that's the difference between you and me, and it's why I'm a cultist. But
a normal person, someone who is completely level-headed, and you give them superpowers, that doesn't mean that, oh, they're just going to be level-headed now and they just have superpowers and they'll never use them for anything bad. They might be normal people because they're just normal people. They can't do anything. But if you give someone power, what is that quote? Power corrupts?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, but there's also like, again, there's also nothing saying that person might not like, because of their upbringing and like the things that they've like their moral like standing and stuff, that they might not like, they might use their powers for good. It might not be correct.
Might. The amount of power that this thing can give a single person, this one person that has bad intentions, if they get it, they could kill thousands of people. Is it worth it?
Yes, because they could also potentially save thousands of people. Like that's the whole premise of free will. Is that like
you save thousands of people from supervillains killing thousands of people if those supervillains didn't get the powers to kill thousands of people in the beginning?
Yeah, I'm not like I have
been watching Marvel shit constantly every single day, and I have seen villains rise and fall. If no one had powers, this shit wouldn't happen.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. The benefits to me outweigh the potential risks of this situation. Because like, it's just like there's so much good that could also come of it. Like, people again, like the people in like old Vegas. Yes, old Vegas has come to ruin, but they are trying to work to build a better world, like build a better city.
They're building it back for what they want as their city, that they don't have to like abide by anyone else's rules as a lawless place that they can just do whatever the fuck they want in.
They're only lawless because the organization that's trying to like contain them is going about it a very authoritarian, like almost like tyrannical regime way. Like, I love that we're having
to be in the open.
Yeah, but what if it was like what? Like, yes, there'd be like a dark period of chaos, but like eventually things would settle down.
A dark period of chaos with like 1 million deaths and like 18 major cities would be brought to ruin.
I mean, you got to break a couple of eggs to make an omelet. You got to break a couple of eggs to make an omelet. Yeah.
The biggest problem is animals.
Yeah. See the Pokemon world. We also get the Pokemon universe in this.
Because if it was just people, people can be talked to and reasoned with. But if for example, a fucking tiger gets infected and turns into some
Raikou.
massive saber-toothed monstrosity.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Because we're the legendary cat Pokemon from yeah. I mean, then we have to deal with it. Like send in one of the mutants to deal with it. That can deal with it.
Like it's only gonna get worse. For example, okay, I'm a mutant, right?
Yeah.
I get stung by a mosquito. That mosquito gets superpowers and gives it to all other mosquitoes, which go around the world giving it to all creatures on the entire Earth. Everyone is infected. Everyone has superpowers, including all the creatures in the entire world.
Yeah, so it would
And
basically
it says it does it to objects as well, right?
No, it only does it for life forms.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it said only like biological organisms.
Okay, that's less horrible, but still, we could have had a dogscape situation.
Oh God. I mean, we could still potentially have a dogscape situation, but like, what like it just takes one dog. Hell, we could have a manscape.
No, I don't want to talk about manscaping right now. But define organic, like living.
No, it's living biological
organisms. Like, plants? It's a plant.
Yeah, it doesn't. They didn't test on plants, so we don't know.
So for all we know, this great, we're all getting superpowers thing will kill every single person on the entire Earth. What if all trees get infected by this and none of them create oxygen anymore because of their mutations? We all fucking die.
But what if it doesn't do that? It might be. If it's already if it can't be stopped, then fuck it. Yeah. That's the thing. Like the Foundation this is the thing about the Apotheosis canon. The Foundation in this situation is losing. Like they've lost.
There's no losing. They lose from the get-go. They don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Well,
and I get that. I'm not saying that this massive tree, they should just get rid of it. It's here. It's affecting people. There's nothing we can do about it. I'm just saying it's not all sunshine and rainbows blasting out your ass.
And I'm also not saying that I'm aware that there will be casualties and stuff like that, but I don't think it'll be the end of the world. It might be the end of the world as we know it right now, but it won't be the end of the world. It won't be the end of humanity. Humanity will just be changed into something new. The Earth's bioforms will be changed into something new. It's not necessarily the end of living organisms on Earth.
I think it might be.
especially since the transformations do not. It specifically says it appears that they do not change the cognitive and the cognitive functions and personality of the people that have been affected. So similar to the dog, like the dogs and animals and stuff like that will still have the same traits, same mentalities and stuff that they had in their original versions. They just now have to deal. They're now also built living with these transformations, these changes in their bodies.
Yes, the virus doesn't directly change their thought patterns, but having the new powers could change it, whether you're an animal or a human being. Just because you are so extra powerful, you will potentially become more monstrous because of that.
Sure. Potentially.
Yeah. Well, think of all the bearded dragons that suddenly destroy houses.
Oh, God. This explodes.
All of a sudden, Clifford situation inside the house.
Yeah. The Clifford was coming from inside the house. Yeah, I mean, again, it's going to be very dramatic and very a very intense couple of years after this takes full swing. But I don't think it's the end of the world.
I just know 1 year into this, after Monica breaks out, Vegas is brought to their knees for reasons.
Well, here's the thing.
They didn't have to do that. Why did they have to take over freaking Vegas?
Well, again, here's the thing. We also don't know. This is actually something in favor of you guys. We don't know how Vegas was claimed.
Well, it's probably because Vegas is near Death Valley.
That's true. It was probably the first city that was brought in. or is one of the closest cities. But again, like, yeah, we don't know how, because Monica is perceived by the citizenry as a hero and like a de facto leader. So maybe I will say maybe like there was a villain, like a villainous character, like a villainous SCP mutant that went into Vegas, started fucking shit up, and Monica showed up and dealt with it, hence becoming the hero of Vegas. And so like there was a people, there was probably like a movement where like people were for her because she saved the city, but then there were people that weren't for her because she's just like the person that just wrecked our shit. Like, why are we following this person? And so like there's probably some kind of dispute that way, some kind of conflict in the city, like for that kind of thing. Again,
if she didn't do it,
yeah,
then yeah. But again, we don't know because
yes,
and plus it's assumed that they retain their mental capacity or whatever. If you recall, last time we had that glob monster, or the guy that threw basically acid balls or whatever.
The Starfield, the one that's tied to your cousin Christy, the East Ends for Evil.
Yeah. The one guy in that basically said he just his thoughts have become pure evil or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's going to happen. Like, I'm sure there are going to be some people that like have the power go to their head and be subsumed by the power and stuff. But I mean, look at the commune that is in Old Vegas now. Like, all those people are just trying to make a living with the situation they have at hand. They're still human in their minds. Like, they are still people. So, yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying like, again, I'm not saying like I am being very positive about the situation. Mostly because I want superpowers. But also like it's also about like free will and like the like even like I don't know, like I'm when it comes to like detaining a group of people because they have the potential to be destructive and evil, but they have not shown necessarily that they are evil. I'm gonna be for them rather than the people that are containing it. So
yeah.
Well,
and didn't in the last version they described what it felt like when the goo was put on her arm.
Yeah, with it, like there was like a rush of where she was given like all these abilities and like knows exactly how to use it and stuff.
Right,
It
I
felt
know where you're
like
going with this. Please continue.
Okay.
It's helping me.
Yeah, it felt like she was swallowed and pissed out.
Yeah, but she could still think like for herself because like she felt something was missing about herself. That still means that she's still her in some capacity.
What I thought you were going to go with is the fact that as soon as she got these powers, it said something like it wasn't words told to her, but a feeling that you need to use these powers now to get out. Like her first, it's almost like the powers gave her the thought of killing all those people and breaking out. That's the vibe I got.
I don't think she wanted to kill those people. I think that's just something that happened as collateral for like wanting to escape an imprisonment. Like, you know what?
People wouldn't have died if it didn't tell her to break out now with these guns that I just gave.
Yeah, but you know what? The people, like, those people wouldn't have died if the fucking SCP Foundation hadn't been fucking experimenting on this fucking organism. Like, all these SCP-339601 addendums are of the Foundation specifically like contaminating individuals and organisms with the sludge, like fluid. They aren't simply like just trying to contain the ones that have already been like contaminated. They're specifically making their own in their experiments. So it's like, yeah.
Welcome to every single SCP on the entire website. What's your point?
I'm just saying, like, this is like that's the flaw in this scenario is like for the SCP Foundation, because like maybe they shouldn't be they were scoffing at the other organizations for like for basically for acquiring various O1s, like O1 instances for their own ends and like recruiting them and using them and then also experimenting with them. But like they did the exact same thing, and that's where we got Monica and Norman.
And I'm pretty sure the reason that SCP Foundation like experiments on anything is because they're trying to figure it out so they can deal with it.
Mm-hmm. And you also have to remember that these people are D class, which I believe means they've done something horrific and are in the prison system for some reason.
Yeah, they're not doing it to just random people that don't deserve it.
No one. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is again going into the quandary of like who deserves what in terms of like a prison system. Like they might.
It's either you get the death sentence or you get this.
Okay, it seems like then you shouldn't be for people like 11424, who's like, yeah, he's a cool guy, he's a chill guy. It's like he's probably a rapist or a murderer. Like by that standing, by that understanding of like what D class is.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Like I'm just saying, like we like there's and what I'm saying is like I don't know if like we're told the D class are supposed to be like again death row inmates, but like some of them like I don't know if some of them are necessarily like some of them might just be like they pulled from the prison system because again like you said not all of them must be D class because there's a lot of D class.
That's true. There's so many of them. They can't all be death row.
Yeah, exactly. So that again, so it's adding on to like the mounting like kind of like the antagonism of the Foundation being kind of like corrupt and like on the inside like or like kind of rotten in the core like in some of its procedures because they're using not like they might be using criminals who are just like regular criminals. Yeah, they did something wrong. They probably did it to survive. They probably stole something or they probably like had something that they did that they got into prison. But like we don't know why they got. There's always like a context that we're missing from like these people that have been put into the prison system. So like not all of them are assholes. Some of them are just doing it. They did what they did to survive, or because they made a stupid mistake because they're human. They're human beings, and the Foundation doesn't have a right to actually test on them. It's
they've
just
been doing it for years, so clearly they do.
They've been doing it for years. That doesn't make it fucking right. I mean, that's just honestly like to anything that just makes them like more despicable because they're using human test subjects from a prison system. Like, yeah, I again like it's.
How else would you test this thing though? Volunteers? There won't be any.
Volunteers, or maybe find some other way, or maybe just don't test on them. Maybe just test to see like how to destroy it, not like see what it does. Like. Yeah. So I feel like I feel like this debate has kind of gone on long enough.
So we're having the same debate that we had last time as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's clear who's on the wrong who's on the wrong side.
Wrong? What?
No, it's clear whose side of the Sokovia Accords we're both on.
Yeah.
Hashtag Team America. Well, Team Captain America.
I was gonna say, are you world police now? Is that what you're trying to be?
No, that's more the Foundation, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely hashtag Team Captain America. But I digress. Let's move away from the debate that's gotten pretty heated and spirited. Going to move on to the next thing here, which actually has to do with something that I feel like was actually kind of missing with the story. Or not the story, the entry. So we get this at the very end. In the event that SCP-3396 escapes the bounds of Foundation control entirely and causes a projected TPK class thaumaturgic proliferation scenario, that's just ATM machine situation there.
Is it?
I'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
Contingency 3396 Alabaster will take effect, and the Foundation will take necessary measures to ensure the safety of what humanity remains. All right. What's Contingency 3396 Alabaster Exactly. Is it like nuke it from orbit with a magical nuke? Only way to be sure? Like, if we can't have the status quo world, no one can. SCP Foundation. Also,
it doesn't say.
yeah, and I'll get to that also in just a second. But first off, that TPK thing. TPK stands for Thaumaturgic Proliferation K class.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No, it stands for Total Party Kill.
Damn it! You stole my bit. You stole my bit, you asshole. All right, fine. I'll continue. It's like, so the end of my thing there, like that. You stealing my thunder aside. But does that mean someone is a fellow D&D nerd? TPK TPK class scenario?
Possible.
Yeah. I thought that was funny because as soon as I saw TPK, it's like, wait, is that really what? Wait, and then I looked up what TPK class contingency is, and it seems to be really just kind of what like CadaverCommander has put in here, because a K class is like an end of the world scenario.
Yeah.
Whereas TP, aside from being toilet paper, he straight up says it in the quote that I had. It's like it's a thaumaturgic proliferation scenario. So it's like a thaumaturgic proliferation end of the world class scenario. But again, also ATM machine situation where it's like TPK class thaumaturgic proliferation scenario. It's like you've already said thaumaturgic proliferation.
Well, thaumaturgic is the word of the day.
Yes, yeah.
So
true, very true.
He gets paid every time he writes thaumaturgic in one way or another.
So this was at the end of the entry where we had like the 3396 Alabaster contingency, and earlier we got it again where it was in the event that 15% of the population of in the event that 15% of Earth's population becomes infested. See document 3396 Alabaster for specifications regarding personnel withdrawal, location of regional quarantine facilities, and subsequent alterations to the Foundation's Prime Directive. This document, as far as I can tell, doesn't exist, aside from this little like kind of loose synopsis of what it is or what's going to be entailed in the document. But I kind of wish there was a document that first 3396 Alabaster connected to. It's just one of those things. Like I kind of think that should have been put in there somewhere, because like CadaverCommander's done this in the past where he's like had like a special procedure that he's added to a either in a drop down link or an actual link to another document on the website.
Well, it sort of explains what it does. So
yeah,
basically the withdrawal, go to the quarantine facilities, and hope that it doesn't reach there.
And alter the Foundation's Prime Directive.
Yeah, directive is to maintain the last surviving uninfected people.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I guess that's basically it. I don't know. Like I guess I guess there isn't really it isn't a problem. I just kind of wish, again, there's so much other like good use of formatting and stuff of that in like the previous stories and like entries that we've done of CadaverCommander. I was kind of hoping that this would also be one of those things, other than just a simple synopsis of what we would expect from that document. But I guess it doesn't need to be a document specific, like separate from this or like linked to it. But there, I'll just sit in my nitpick nook. But finally, that is my actual thoughts. I'm sorry I had a lot to say, and I'm not sorry for the debate we had between Team Foundation and Team Mutant. But Mikey, the E stands for evil. You're up.
All right. So this basically says that 6% of the population is infected, and that at 15%, that's where they enact the quarantine.
Yeah.
We don't know how fast this spreads, and the fact that it already infected 470 million people.
Yeah, what's the current? Sorry, what is the current population of Earth? Like
7.8 billion.
Okay, we're in the billions now. Okay,
we've been in billions for a while.
Yeah, I know. I just, I for some reason, I think it was like I remember like back in like the 90s or so. I remember it being like 3 billion, and now we're 7 billion. Jesus.
In 1999, it was 6 billion.
It was only 6 billion back then. Okay. I don't know. I might have been remembering it wrong then.
There's a lot of people regardless.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is spreading really fast. We don't know how it's spreading, whether it be a handshake or just coming near someone.
Yeah.
And even if it's like say COVID, like you breathe near someone and they're infected.
Yeah, true. Yeah, if it's airborne, we're fucked. Like if the fluid when it goes into the, I wonder if that's what happens. Like maybe maybe that's what some of the organs are for. It's for aerosoling the fluid in the host body. That could be something. But again, like if it's airborne, we're all kinds of fucked.
Yeah, and given how stupid people are, based on the scenario of
the last 3 years.
There's no such thing as mutants. Oh God, now I'm a mutant. What do I do now?
That's Suddenly that metaphor, it's an idiom. Avoid something like the plague. Like honestly, that idiom has no meaning since the last 3 years have happened. Because people don't avoid things when because like it's the plague.
Mm-hmm.
What are you referring to?
We're referring to the pandemic.
Okay.
Like, if the pandemic is anything to be an example of, like, contamination is going to be really bad because, like, again, like Mikey says, like Mikey tastefully tried to allude to, and then I just brute force.
I figured, but I wanted to make sure that I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. It was like, I'm like, there's no such things as mutants. Oh God, I'm a mutant now. People are stupid.
Yeah. So this is very much a world-ending scenario, or the world-changing scenario.
Thank you.
The world as we know it ending scenario.
Yeah, it's just like that. It's just like that song by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Is it it's the end of the world?
Yeah.
And I'm a mutant.
Oh wow, by REM. That's the song. No, that's the band. Red Hot Chili Peppers. What the fuck?
Starts with an R.
Yeah, it's true. Man, there's a bunch of songs from REM that I apparently liked, but I never realized they were by REM. Anyway, sorry.
Probably not relevant.
Nope.
All right. So, I got a quote here.
Okay.
Biological organisms affected by SCP-3396, designated SCP-3396-01, will develop additional organs and tissues of unknown purpose which metastasize rapidly throughout the body's cavities. So to me, this seems like magical cancer.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's definitely some kind of like invasive growth inside the human body that also is like corporeal and incorporeal because we can't remove it with conventional means.
This has me thinking more of a Deadpool scenario.
Oh God.
Because I mean, he's got cancer, but
his healing factor is
Yeah, and his healing factor heals the cancer.
Yeah, it's stopping the cancer before it can, or his body is basically like at a tie with the cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cancer is frozen, but if you remove the cancer, it grows back.
Yeah.
Exactly the way it was.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can't remove these things, it seems like everybody becomes Deadpool.
Love it.
Hate it. There's enough annoying people in the world as it is.
How dare you, sir? How dare you turn your back on a fellow Canadian?
Hey, one is all we need. He's perfect the way he is. More is not better. Less is more in this situation.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
But haven't you ever wanted a Deadpool, like an army of Deadpools with different powers?
They wouldn't be Deadpools anymore.
Yeah, they'd be the Deadpool.
The pool of dead people.
Please continue.
Also, no.
Yeah.
So we've reached the end of my actual thoughts.
Okay. Then on to Gamer.
So, a couple of my notes are just me learning things. Like one is due to the rate of physical and metaphysical communicability presented by SCP-3396. So, communicability is like when a patient is when a patient is shedding virus at a sufficient quantity and viability to infect another person. So basically, just if someone's infected and they can, it's viral.
Yeah, it's the means. It's the means of viral spread.
They're contagious. It's just another word for contagious, basically.
Yep.
Love having multiple words for one thing.
Yeah.
Best.
Get over it.
No.
I'm getting spicy now.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll stop being spicy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll switch over to mild. Sorry.
It's talking about like we'll develop additional organs and tissues of unknown purpose, which metastasize.
Metastasizing.
Metastasize?
Yeah.
It's basically just to spread to other parts of the body.
Yep.
Which is another word I haven't heard.
It's also
honestly a lot of words I've never heard, but I'm like, I'm not gonna go over all of them.
they're also kind of like scientific or like medical words, and like I kind of know some of them from like I knew that these last two from like medical shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Like even Grey's Anatomy and stuff. Also, when I googled metastasizing, a lot of like the suggested stuff is like metastasizing cancer and cancer's metastasizing. So it's like, yeah. So might not be as good as it might not be as it might be benign, but it might not be as like again, it's kind of tying into that whole like cosmic horror. It's like it's not intending to be evil or like cause harm, but it's causing harm regardless. Also body horror.
If you don't intend to kill someone, but you still kill someone, that's still bad.
Yeah, or like the tiger didn't mean to eat that or kill that person. It was just going on its base instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how I'm kind of seeing like this organism and the mother right now is like the mother isn't meaning to like, isn't in like evilly intending on like transforming and mutating the current reality it's leaking into. That's just how the mother do.
If it was aware and it's like, oh, I'm ruining this entire world, I should go.
Or what if it can't?
Commander Shepard's out of there.
Yeah. Or what if it can't? Like it's like it's like that situation we've mentioned a couple times, like it's like where the cosmic horror is like, I'm helping. Why are you screaming? I don't understand. like because like that's the thing is like it wants to thrive, and it's telling it's either the afflicted or the organisms within the afflicted to thrive. Out, like go forth, my children, kind of thing.
Yeah, so but, it's like, doing this intentionally. It is not,
but it might not be. Yeah, it might be doing it intentionally, but it might not be doing it intentionally maliciously. It might just be like it might just not understand what we perceive as malicious. But I'll stop. I'll stop talking.
Does not whether it's actually good or bad things happen.
Yes. Yeah.
So then we, when I got to the addendums, I figured one of them was going to be Monica, and I was not disappointed. But looking at all the different addendums, one is the 25-meter lizard who makes toxic clouds. The other is the hairless, horn-covered devil dog that can regenerate. A woman who can summon any gun and whose body explodes incoming bullets away, and a guy who's an amalgam of flesh with floating hands with eyes in them. So one of those isn't like the other. And I know the whole point of this SCP is it can make people and things into anything and do anything.
Yeah.
But there should be a larger variety of addendums to show that, honestly, because out of the 4 we have, Monica's is my least favorite.
Because
And-
it's the outlier?
Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Because all the other 3 are, this thing takes the donor body, physically changes it a lot, and gives it abilities. But Monica gets to win the fucking lottery of being able to look like a normal person. It
Yeah.
just adds to how much of a Mary Sue she is, you know?
I
can do no wrong.
I can see where you're going, because I feel like there should be a little bit more diversity in like the abilities, since it is already established that this thing, the abilities, the anomalies, the powers it gives is very varied from the story we got. But yeah, also you're wrong, and I hate you about her being Mary Sue. Don't ruin my. Do not steal. Do not talk back about my waifu. No,
I will. But literally, she does no wrong.
Yeah. I understand. I understand.
Sorry, the one wrong she did. Why didn't she save the hairless, horn-covered devil dog? He was just a good papa.
He might be out there somewhere. She
should have busted him out if she had any redeeming qualities.
Okay.
Because she totally knew that he was there.
What we don't have in this story is when she's like cresting the hill away from the facility. Next to her at all times is a good boy.
Of course.
Also, so basically, it's Captain Solanum or Aaron from One Less Die, who never reminds me in our games that he has a grumble hound.
He has a dog.
Then he has a fucking dog near. It's like, well, what about my dog? Wait, you have a dog? It's like, yeah, I said the whole time. It's like, you just brought that up, like that you brought your dog.
Man, a lot of okay, this is unrelated to everything, but the problem with us having like familiars and shit in games is A, we forget about them. B, it adds so much more complexity because it's another character sheet.
Yeah, so stop doing it
on the initiative order.
Then stop doing it. If you
I'm not Aaron, okay?
I'm the gamer in yellow.
Yeah. So long story short, I wish there was some more addendums to show other things that are somewhat similar to Monica's power, because every other instance of this power being given to someone completely fucks them up. Aside from some of the ones that we got in the shape of a gun, like the dudes who are like their entire purpose is they dig up the roads and shit. I don't remember what they look like.
I think honestly they just look like people. I can't remember.
Confused.
I think Dozer was either a human or like a human made of like asphalt and stuff, like Korg.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But I can't recall if that's actually the case, or if I just fabricated that shotgun like Monica.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's why you like her.
It's
not. Her entire purpose is fabricating guns.
But
wow.
I don't even know if that's the reason, but like, yeah, I just really like her. She's a really cool character, guys.
We finally got it. We got there.
What can I say? I love a gal that can manifest any number of firearms and fire them off.
She didn't even spawn Tommy guns though.
Yeah, but she could.
And you still say you like her. Yeah, but she chooses not to. That's the thing. She knows she can, but maybe because she just hasn't had the right scenario for it. Oh, okay, really?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. That's why. Also, just a quick aside. This is like, again, between the last episode and this episode, when I tried, like, I had to like look up the shape of a gun a couple of times, like for the link, and Google Images, there is fan art of the cast of the shape of a gun.
Well, I'm sure there is.
It
There's
is
fan art of every
awesome.
SCP on the entire website, I
Yeah.
imagine.
But I just gotta say, like, the fan art is like amazing. Like it like is cool renditions of the various mutants.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. Sorry, this is your
I'll
spotlight.
check those out later.
Yeah.
My last note I already used when I summoned Thunder to steal it from you.
Ah, yes, the TPK.
Yes.
I think someone's a nerd.
And God bless him.
Yes. All right.
That's the end of my notes. Yeah.
Okay. Then I suppose we'll move on to final thoughts. So for me, on its own, it is this entry is a font of game fodder, and even a great jumping off point for people to write stories or even like write a game scenario or scenarios set in the Apotheosis canon. And I mean, like the Apotheosis canon, like that's a great example of like this being a jumping off point for people to write stories off of, because not all the stories from what I saw on the Apotheosis canon are by CadaverCommander. Some of them are by other writers on the SCP and Wikipedia.
Oh yeah.
As an accompanying entry to kick off said canon, it is kind of necessary. Sorry again, gamer. Like you kind of do need this to like start off like before reading Shape of a Gun, because it explains the action. It is basically the origin for Shape of a Gun. So all this kind of to say, I still 100% recommend this entry. Go Team Mother. I mean mutant. But yeah, that's my recommendations and my final recommendation. So Mikey, these stands for evil.
All right. So basically, given what we know about diseases and how quickly they can spread, the human race is doomed.
No, okay, I'll stop. I'll shut up.
Well, doomed to change.
Yes. How dare we evolve and adapt to our new environment?
Forcibly.
Hey, man, that's basically the premise of the that is what evolution is being forced to adapt to changing situations and environments.
Yeah, and dealing with the mutant mosquitoes and the huge bearded dragons that are poisonous with toxic gases.
Yeah, just being around them kills people.
With poisonous gases out of their asses.
But like,
the
what
humans
happens?
Are dead. Sorry.
Yeah. So does it affect other was it reptiles that way? So do alligators become monsters that have ticking time bombs?
For all we know, the alligators could become giant crystalline creatures. or
every single human that we've seen has been vastly different. I assume every single creature of the same species would be very different. If they got another bearded dragon,
it might become an actual bearded dragon.
Yeah, he'll grow a massive hairy beard.
I'm not gonna lie, when I read that the thing they were testing was a bearded dragon, I was like, oh, we're gonna get Charizard. This is how we get Charizards.
Yep.
Yeah. So the fact that it varies wildly from person to person or creature to creature, it becomes a scientist's wet dream, and that they get to study all these different species that are all the same.
Yeah.
But
and becomes an ecological nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to pretend that the world is fucked for at least a little while after this. But I imagine my two outcomes for this that I see is either complete and utter collapse of humanity of Earth's environment, or a completely brand new environment evolves out of this on the Earth.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm rooting for the other for the latter.
I think he got 10 years tops, and then everybody's dead.
Wow. Well, some of us are glass half empty, and some of us are glass half full.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that for me is missing is the timeline of how quickly did it hit 6% of the population?
Yeah, I do kind of wish that we gotten like within like 6 months or like within like 7 months or something like that, like of the initial incident, like that happened.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that bad already. I thought it was like a very isolated incident, but many,
yeah,
like already right
and
now.
And like the Foundation has been covering it up as best they can. Like they've been trying to basically they've been infiltrating news networks and like online like platforms and stuff to basically conceal the sightings of people with powers and organisms with powers and stuff.
Does that mean that there's like 400,000 missing people in the world? Like if they're going in and like taking all these people so they would stop infecting people? Or are they just letting them be in the normal populace?
I'm sure they're trying. Well, it sounds like they're trying to contain as many as they can. So there's like probably a good portion of that number that have been captured. But then there's like an equal amount of like, there's a whole department now devoted to just scrambling people's like Twitter accounts whenever a video posts up of somebody doing some like selfies with their powers or something like that. So is the movie Chronicle basically like the start of this, the advent of this too? Like where like it's a bunch of kids that get superpowers and then they just well it's the movie's like a found footage movie about a bunch of kids that get superpowers and they just start filming themselves doing their stupid like doing stupid shit with their superpowers. And then one of them is an asshole and becomes an even bigger asshole when he gets powers and goes villain.
Weird, right?
I'm not saying yes, it's going to happen, but like there's also going to be people that are not assholes that will confront the assholes. Anyway, I'll stop talking.
Yeah. So basically, just reading this, we're already doomed. Unless we had a timeline, then we could sort of factor in how soon we're doomed. But
about all we know is a year from Monica's escape, Vegas has fallen and it's ran by mutants and mutant sympathizers. That's about all we know for timeline.
Yeah. And I mean, like that year could be enough that we've reached 15%, but if that's the case, then why would the Foundation even bother with Vegas? Unless that was their quarantine zone.
That might have been the quarantine zone. Also, they could just be desperate at that point. It's just like we just got to keep doing this until we got to try and stop this. Like, yeah, I don't think it's at 15% as of the Shape of a Gun. I think it's like getting there, but
okay.
I guess we'll have to see what happens in some of the further stories of the Apotheosis canon.
Keep track of the percentage and like keep us updated on what it's like.
All right, and then it is neat, but I mean everyone gets extra organs that gets infected.
Extra organs that don't seem to be killing anybody.
But I'm thinking if it's like
gives you the ability to touch someone and they die, the organ killed someone.
Okay, look. I mean, in terms of like a medical like situation, the fact that people are getting extra organs in their bodies and not suffering too many like debilitating side effects like death or like immobility, I call that a win.
What's that guy, Norman?
He's fine. He's normal. He's normal 5% of the time.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, what happens to the food supply? Like, all the cows that get infected, you might not be able to slaughter them.
Some of them, but there might be ones that are fine.
Maybe some of them will grow to be massive and they just produce more meat.
Exactly.
Oh,
But it's
okay.
so random
Hell,
that
what
like at least some of them will.
maybe their milk, maybe one of them will produce chocolate milk, actually chocolate milk.
Yeah, but then people would drink that infected chocolate milk and then that would spread the virus even more.
Excellent. Look, man, it's gonna happen to the rest of the world. Might as well fucking embrace it.
I don't know. I'll take Plan B, thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Dirty Team Foundation. No, kidding. Can't play it.
Yeah, there's just so many unknowns with this that it's only a partial recommendation for me.
All right. Then on to, and then we have on. I guess we have Gamer.
So sad.
I'm not sad,
man.
I'm not sad. I'm just like I know who I'm going to be fighting in the battles after this. Like
Yeah. I mean, I would die anyways because you'd be some superpowered like monstrosity, and I'd just be a dude.
You know what it is? It's that scene from I keep seeing this on Twitter last couple of weeks of the guy from the movie Kong Skull Island, where like one of the guys, he's like kind of suicidal. He just has like a vest of grenades, and he like pulls all the pins and waits for the giant monster to come at him to eat him, so that he blows it up in the process. And the monster like looks at him, and instead of eating him, just like swipes him away with his tail off to a distant cliff where the explosion goes off.
Nice.
But like that's gonna be you, like against me. It's just like you'll be like you pull like grenades. It's like, come on. It's like I'd be like, haha, swipe.
That's what you think. Or it'll be a Predator 1 situation with Arnold. Be like, do it, kill me.
Kill me, I'm here.
Trap set up to murder you.
Yeah, we'll have to see when the final confrontation happens.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, this story as a plot device to introduce unlimited possibilities for anything and everything to exist in the real world, it does work at that. Problem being, as I've said before, going all out with these powers removes going all out with the powers removes this whole thing from the whole creepy cover-up vibe, which is what SCP is.
Yeah.
Because right from Jump Street, they're not covering shit up anymore. They've already lost.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish it was you would see them getting worse and worse at containing until they lose. Like, they just lose right from the get-go, which isn't as fun.
I think we need more. I think what we need here is a timeline to kind of show like the progression of how bad things are getting. Because like right now, it seems like you're pushing that like it happened immediately, like within like a snap of a finger, we're fucked. Whereas like there was probably some periods of time where they were like they thought they were good, and then or they thought they could keep it under wraps, and then it's like it's slowly dawning on them they can't.
The way that I should be thinking about this is there have been 3,395 SCP entities before
This
96 showed up and ruined everything.
Yeah.
So that is the slow descent of
the SCP
of SCP losing it.
Yeah.
Instead of viewing it as like this is the first thing in this entire canon. Like this isn't the first thing the SCP's ever done. They've been doing all this shit before it as well. It's all canon, right? And
hell, even if CadaverCommander's stories are all connected, like if the Apotheosis canon has like ties to like the old old fisherman guy who like fishes out monsters out of like dimensional port rifts and like has the Foundation show up to like with their naval fleet to take it out.
Hull and Hank.
Yeah, Hull and Hank, or like the Night Hauler, or the Admiral, the Mother, and all that kind of stuff. Like that's all been leading up to this. If those were all connected, which there seem to be like inklings that like some of those entities were connected to this. That could be also like a lead up to like this. So like showing just like the Foundation's been trying their best. They've been sending like troops in, like armies and naval fleets in to like keep things under wraps or like, to keep things contained. And then they have like massive, like they have just massive bull pits of dorks on computers, trying to basically veil out internet presence of these accounts and sightings and stuff. And it's just showing that like none of that means diddly when this thing pops out of the desert and can mutate people with powers. So
yeah, this entry itself, the 3396 entry, I do like that this entry itself is showing that SCP is still in working order at this point, to some point, because it's still saying that this is what this is what this entity is. Like, it's a very standardized thing, where the D57 story, Shape of a Gun, it's just like right from the get-go, or in that story, it just like the Foundation is just a tyrannical like superpower that's trying to kill all of them. Like,
it's being told from a different point of view.
Yeah. But in her point of view, there is no, like, from her view, the Foundation are just evil people and they should all die.
Which you can kind of understand her point of view on that, because she was imprisoned and she was being tested on.
Yes, but that makes you a villain.
Not necessarily. I mean, honestly, like,
I literally last night, I'm going through the Jessica Jones series.
Okay.
And last night, I just saw the point where you see the background information on why Kilgrave, the villain, became a villain. And it's because he was a child that was experimented on, and his powers developed because of that. It's literally the same thing.
Okay, but like,
and because of him being experimented on by his family, he became an asshole and has been killing hundreds of people as he's been growing up.
Yes. There are also other stories in comics and in some of the Marvel movies as well, where like somebody was being tested on and came out as a hero, but they were on the run from organizations within the government that were connected to the people that were experimenting on them.
Yeah, it's called Luke Cage. I've seen that one too.
I was actually going to reference them. What the hell are they called? The like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Like, yes, they were experimented on by Hydra, who was actually Shield, or that was covered as Shield, and they ended up starting off as like villains, like thinking they were on the right side of the team, and then they end up becoming heroes. So yeah, and then later became villain again that's the
way superpowers are, man.
Well, it happens, and then they redeemed themselves and became heroes again. So it's like it happened. It's a constant evolution, like organic cycle of heroism and villainy.
Yeah, I think I've just started becoming like the view of just like superpowers are just like the concept of a superpower is great. Like, yeah, I could fly through the sky. Yeah, I could lift really heavy things and be cool. Yeah, but in actuality, just no, because it causes so many problems.
I'm trying to think. Is there actually like an organization or like a character in either the Marvel movies or some other show that's like, fuck superpowers, no one should have this power? Like, is there a group or an entity like that? Like any of them
that doesn't want his own powers?
Yeah, doesn't want powers, but also doesn't want anybody else to have powers because they see powers as you know what it is? It's fucking Gore the God Killer.
Sure.
From Thor: Love and Thunder.
I haven't seen that.
Okay, well, not spoiling anything, but the villain's ideology is basically gods are assholes. One god was an asshole to him, therefore all gods are assholes. So I'm going to kill every god ever.
Oh, okay.
That is literally, that's his whole plight, his whole like reasoning is like, one guy was an asshole, therefore they all are assholes.
Mm-hmm. That makes him an asshole, though.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, back to this though.
Yes.
There's something I was going to bring up earlier. I'm just going to gloss over real quick. the whole city of like New Vegas and everything.
Yeah.
Is
You
New
mean
Vegas,
Old Vegas?
right?
Old Vegas.
Old Vegas.
New Vegas is from Fallout New Vegas.
Okay, Old Vegas. So there are mutants living there and mutant sympathizers, right?
Yes.
Doesn't that mean all the mutant sympathizers are also mutants?
No.
Because they're infected?
Apparently not. Apparently there are humans that are sympathetic to the mutants.
Yes,
But
but
they
they're
are
all
not-
like in the same building, eating the same food.
Apparently they aren't mutants.
We need more context on this shit, man.
You are
bothering me.
You, sir, are the Disney princess today.
Yeah, I must have more context. Yeah. Yeah, overall, I'll give this this entry a partial because it's a good primer. I just worry that the scope of all this and the scale of everything for everything that's going to follow, because it's already escalating so quickly.
Mhm.
Because like, how many entries are in this canon? Isn't it?
I can pull it
9 or
up
so?
if you want. There's like a good number of like there's like multiple parts, and each part has like a couple of entries and stories in them. So, so we have we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 13-ish stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious how it's going to go and whether the entries will show a progression of the world, or if it's just going to be like, this is the way the world is now, and this is the viewpoint of like 13 different entities, all characters and stuff in that world right now, but there won't be any progression.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing to realize here is that, so like even like their little like blurb about the Apotheosis canon, it's an epic tale of endings, beginnings, and often forgotten toil in between. So like basically it's about the end of the world as we know it, as humans know it, the beginning of a new world, and then everything, and then the stories and like events that happened in between those two things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and another thing to put into perspective, gamer, maybe like that, I maybe you keep forgetting, or like it's just like you can't you can't pull away from, is the fact that this isn't the canon of the SCP Foundation. This is a what if world.
Yeah.
This is an alternate. This is a what if canon of like what would happen if the SCP Foundation lost its veil out scenarios. Like it could not contain something, and the world changed because of that. So
which to me justifies what SCP has been doing all along. Because if this is what happens when they fuck up, and the world is the way it is now in the real world because they haven't been fucking up, I'll take that.
I guess I like change. I guess that's where our two views differ. It's like I don't like things to stagnate and get boring. So
change is okay, but I don't feel like living in Fallout. You know,
I mean, it's kind of cool. I dig it.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, so like that's the difference between you and me. Really, is like. Also, it's weird. You're a ninja. I'm a cultist.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't help that like when I clicked on the Apocalypse sub, I see that there's a cool title art, and like there's clearly Monica there as the main character.
Shut up.
And no, I'm not saying against you. I'm saying like that's my problem. Is the main character of this I'm not into.
Yeah, exactly.
Every other character for some reason.
Yeah. Man.
But for all I know, like Monica is actually a character that I'm way into. It's just the lack of description for her is making it not click well with me, because I have to ask so many questions that should be answered just in the story itself, both stories.
Gamer, I have to stop you for a second.
Okay.
I just read the first sentence of the next story.
Okay.
A turret was being chewed up by a Tyrannosaurus Rex made of plasma.
Go on. I'm intrigued. So I'm assuming she's going to be a recurring character then.
Yeah, but also I think like Tyrannosaurus Rex made of plasma. I was like, is this are we going to see that blue wizard dragon and that red cyborg T-Rex?
Oh yeah, perhaps.
We'll have to
that
see.
wasn't this because that was part of Joey Fucknuts.
Yeah, it was from Joey Fucknuts. It was also its own entry too, because it was like part of a series of stories.
Yeah, but
yeah, so like that's that's also another line from the little blurb for part 2, X-Men versus Super Science, and I'm glad Armando's there. This is awesome. This was awesome. It's like that's basically I think where we're kind of heading in this reality is like mutants. It's basically the X-Men conundrum, like. People like because the whole thing about X-Men, about the X-Men like comics and like the characters is that they're people with mutants. They're just trying to live their own lives. They do have dangerous powers, or they have like weird and random powers, and society has made them outsiders because they're weird and creepy, and they could be very dangerous. And like
yes,
it's honestly is honestly like the X-Men. It is basically the X-Men plot.
It is, and this
you are for the Sentinels, okay?
No.
Okay.
If I'm reading a creepypasta, it's like, or something creepypasta adjacent, it should be creepy. And this isn't. That's part of my problem. Like, yes, the story itself and the concept behind it is neat. And it's great for game fodder and all that stuff, and it's cool action, even though we don't see all the cool action scenes in the ones that we've seen, but that's fine. But all that stuff is great. And it's like very Marvel Avengers-y kind of scale and all that. And that's great. But there's no horror in it.
I disagree because
the horror is just how everything is going to collapse from people having this and seeing how it's going to be rebuilt in their image.
Yeah, and how the weird world is like affecting things and stuff like that. Like it's kind of a bit of like it's less horror. It's horror aesthetic because it's again we're seeing it from the mutants' eyes, the mutants' perspectives, like the monster's perspective. But we're also it kind of is again. It is. I will agree. It isn't like horror. It's not spooky, scary skeletons like Napoleon Bonaparte's. But it's like it's got horror leanings, but it is more like weird fiction because it has this action sci-fi kind of superhero genre kind of slapped into it as well. And maybe some of the other stories will focus more on like a spooky or like more of like the horror of this situation than what we've said or what we've read so far.
Maybe because right now the only true horror is just the fact that if you're a human, you're fucked. You will either die as a human or you will be turned forcibly into a mutant against your will.
Yeah.
That is the horror of it. Like you're going to be a mutant or you're going to be dead. That's just the long and short of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's not even the mutants' fault necessarily because, like, they didn't choose this either. But they also want to be free from like the Foundation and like their tests and their imprisonment. So it's again they're humans being flawed humans is like all around.
And some of them are trying to make the best of it and not infect other people because there's other people migrating to Old Vegas. Mm-hmm. And if they're doing that because they're wanting to get away from other people and not infect them, great. Although that doesn't sound like that is the intent. The intent is they just want to be with more of their kind so they can all be protected. It's like more of a selfish thing.
Well, it's a selfish thing, but it's also might be something out of ignorance. Like, do they actually know that they're infectious? Or are they just thinking that, oh, more people are mutants? Like there's more mutants out there than we realized. Because like it sounded like they didn't know, whereas the Foundation has come to realize that they are infectious, whereas the mutants don't seem to realize they're infectious. It's like carriers.
It's been a year. Are you telling me that the Foundation wouldn't have told them?
Probably not, because the Foundation is still because it's an organization of compartmentalization and secrecy. You don't need to know. You just need to be contained. They would not explain themselves.
If they're already out there and they've taken over an entire city, you don't think they'd be like, guys, you need to come in. You are infectious. Everyone you touch will become a mutant as well. It's going to spread throughout the world. We need to quarantine you guys.
I don't think the Foundation would actually do that. Also,
if they based out of Derpland.
No, by that merit, our real world people are from Derpland with the whole like pandemic shit.
People in general, yes, are from Derpland.
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're
People in general aren't an organization that is founded on trying to contain a problem. And
look where that's got us today.
yeah.
So yeah, I think we should put a pin on this because we're just continuing to argue about whose side is correct, and I think the point is no one's side is actually like fully correct in this situation.
And I'm not trying to change your
I know,
mind, and I'm not going to let you pollute my mind, infect my mind with your weird spores
with
from
your
the
mutant powers. Yeah, your mutant influence.
Yeah.
But gamer, you didn't realize my voice is my power.
My God.
Anyway, so partial recommendation though from you.
Yeah.
For the seed idea, but you're not really jiving with the implications that it is proposing after that.
Yeah, for what it is, it's good. If you want to see like high action, like high levels of like zero street level stuff, it's all in the clouds with the abilities and stuff like that, then that's great. You're in the right spot. That's exactly what you're gonna read here. But if you're wanting something that's more grounded or like, more SCP-ish with things being contained and like learning about them and stuff like that, that's not why you're here.
Okay. So yeah, that's our recommendations. 1 full recommendation and 2 partials. I think that's like it was last week too.
No,
because you didn't recommend it initially, but then you said low end a partial recommendation.
Yeah, but it's not full partial.
Oh.
Low end partial means low partial.
All right, fine.
There is not
25%, not 50%. Yeah. You're 25%, not 50%.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Everybody got that in the world out there in internet land?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's been this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter, so you can send us messages there. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow without that W at the end because his name is very long. And I'm at Review Cultist. We also have an email at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! Nailed it.
Did it come through?
It came through.
Cool.
It was like, yeah. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these stories, without these canons that you come up with for the SCP Foundation, for SCP entries and creepypastas, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. Or argue about for an hour.
Yeah.
About whose side is right.
That's not what it's about. It's not about who's right. It's just
who's wrong.
No, it's not.
No, I just
get our views out on what we like and dislike about these stories so far.
Yes. So thank you all the same. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East End Evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.